Welcome to Launch Code, a premier business podcast, starring Evan Hafer, Matt Best, and Jared Taylor.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Launch Code.
Good morning, everyone, in sunny San Antonio on the set we got a new set piece today.
Yeah, what's that mean?
Just a decoration for the set.
Oh, yeah. The thing so I get here this morning, JT goes, you want to give me a hand with something? I said, sure. So we walk into the back of the office, and there's this dirt bike
full-size dirt bike.
Full-size dirt bike that had to be put together. So I turned around immediately and walked out because I don't do things like that because I don't like messing with tools because things get broken. JT assembled a dirt bike that won with Dave that won the X Games last year and brought it into this podcast studio and then cranked it up, and it was real loud.
It's going as part of our Nitro, heritage wall with Nitro Circus. So
Action Sports.
Yeah,
so
there you go. Yeah.
Today's guest is Randall, who is the owner of Atlantic Signal.
A company close to my heart.
Yeah, so that's why JT's on, because I honestly would have no idea what to talk to Randall about because I don't understand all this stuff. So without further ado, we have Randall from Atlantic Signal. And JT, I'm going to let you take it away, and you can start talking about these things.
Yeah, Randall, how did you get into comms gear? Let's start there.
I met a guy in January of 1995. Lived about 25 miles away from me. I had no idea who he was, and he had actually invented a bone conduction headset with another guy and took it to FBI HRT. And those guys started to fiddle around for about 2 or 3 years in trying to design a headset that allowed an operator to hear through his face and keep his ears open for situational and directional awareness.
Wow.
So I stumbled across the guy and ultimately went to work for him in early 1995. And here we are too many years later, and now I own the company.
Well,
that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, we've got plenty to cover from 1995 on. So, do you have an engineering background or anything, or was this all on the job training?
I don't, man. I owned my own business. I think the first time was when I was 13 years old. I owned a screen printing business and graduated from high school and went into the retail business before Walmart. That dates me. Before Walmart got a foothold, I worked for a discount group out of Texas called Gibson's Discount Center. And then I decided I didn't want to work 90 hours a week standing on my feet. So I went to got an associate's degree, and then got a bachelor's, and then went ahead and got a graduate degree from Kansas University. And that was kind of on my way into going into law school when I met the guy that owned the company I have today. So, no, I have no engineering background whatsoever. The product that he had fascinated me, maybe is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
And I thought, what the hell? I'll take a year off. I won't go to law school. I'll see where this product and this technology might take him and me along for the ride. And to say it's been a ride is an understatement.
Yeah.
It's been a long, strange ride to get where I am today.
Let's break it up in two parts. Let's go pre 9/11 and post. So leading up to pre 9/11, were you guys mostly just marketing to agencies like the FBI and things like that, trying to get your products there? Or did you start a military program in the beginning, or?
No, legit question. From 1995 to about 2003, the company and the gentleman I worked for, primarily we were a marketing company. So we had split off from his original partner, who was the manufacturer. So we went out and found the customer, took it to his former business partner who manufactured it. We packaged it up and delivered it to the customer. So, let's be real here. The product that that I was marketing, as well as the other employees at that point in time, primarily was manufactured by somebody else. We started to gain market knowledge, I would say, in the late 1990s. But we were a very, very small company in a very niche business, if you will. I didn't play in the military arena whatsoever. We didn't have enough personnel, and I don't believe, honestly, we had the product mix or the expertise to go into that market space at that particular point in time. So, we were a company doing $1 million, $2 million a year, taking care of local police departments and sheriffs. Our product line at that particular point in time was entirely tactical. So just call it a SWAT application at that point. I think at the company's heyday way back then, we might have had 2 headset models, 2 push-to-talks, and maybe interface to, 35 radios around the country. So we were very, very limited. And knowing your background, JT, I wouldn't even wanted to pretend that I could play in it back in those days.
So then I imagine, post 9/11, everything changes.
It did. We as a company made the decision to split from that manufacturer. And ultimately, we brought another business partner in based out of Toronto, Canada, who had manufacturing experience. So we started designing products. To clarify that, we don't sit down in this company. We never will as long as I own it. I'll never sit down and design a piece of goods and try to market it to an operator. We basically go find the operator, find the opportunity, and let them sit down, fine-tune it, and then ultimately we'll prototype it for them. So if you go back after 9/11, obviously things changed for everybody in our business and on the tactical side of it. We left the original manufacturer, started our own manufacturing, and maybe over the course of the next 4 or 5 years, we were full-blown manufacturers, not doing much more business than we had been doing previously. Obviously, we had more margin in it because we were a manufacturer rather than a distributor. I think the tide turned for us as a company around 2007. We were approached by NSWDG to develop a headset that would go 20 meters under the water for 2 hours. So that's when the change started to occur.
Oh, wow.
It was around 2007.
How long did that project take you guys?
It honestly took about a good year. So you're well aware of the fact of how difficult it is to build a product for such an austere environment. Those guys were rolling with
temperatures, water,
salt water. They were running black PRC 148s at the time. The 152, I don't even believe really truly was in existence at that point. And they needed a headset that gave them the ability to go up to 20 meters under the water for 2 hours, which is the same rating as the radio. And obviously, they're not communicating under the water on that particular headset. They just need the product to survive so that when they pop surface, they have the ability to immediately communicate. So that was my first true experience in dealing with that type of client. Everybody else prior to that, not that they're not important, obviously, but it was in a different scale, if you will, taking it to that customer base.
Yeah. And I mean, if you succeed, you're obviously going to have return business.
We did. We were successful. The word got out. And then I think it was 2009, I got a phone call from those same guys, told me that they had been experimenting with some other headset manufacturers to try to come up with a next generation headset for that particular organization, and asked me if I would be interested in playing ball with them. So I went out to Virginia Beach, sat down with about 10 guys. What they had been using to date was a typical Peltor headset, obviously. I think they'd also used MSA Sorden. And then you'll remember, JT, in the 2007, 2008, you started to see these devices come in from overseas that allowed you to put 2 earpieces in your ear, transmit from your ear, and receive through your ear. And I think, in all honesty, when you go back to that time frame, those products have changed today, but those products back then, for any period of extended wear, became extremely uncomfortable. And the boys didn't want their ears plugged all the time. They wanted their own SA and DA. So long story short, I sat down with them in 2009, took that same concept of an underwater bone conduction headset, and went out with one of our partners, which is Phonak, out of Switzerland, the largest digital hearing aid manufacturer in the world. And we developed the next generation headset for them called the Dominator.
Oh, wow.
So that headset gave the guys the ability to run multiple radios, multiple platforms, receive through their face. And then when they got onto a bird or they got close up on a target and wanted electronic hearing protection, they could reach up on the side piece of the headset and plug earpieces into their ears. And those earpieces had comms coming through them. They had electronic ambient amplification and electronic hearing protection. And the other key was they were still using a boom microphone. So my experience, and I think a lot of the other guys' experience, has been when you talk through your ear, sometimes you sound like you're talking through a tin can. And then you take that same scenario and put it on a bird or an extremely high noise ambient environment or where your body is being shaken. Ultimately, voice communications on the transmit side are extremely bad, and they're even worse on the receive side. So having that noise canceling boom microphone was crucial for those guys.
Yeah, no, that's great. And is that kind of like your latest model now? That you
no,
guys...
we've kind of gone beyond that. That headset was used. The team leader on the Bin Laden hit was one of the guys that I originally worked with starting in 2009 that helped us develop that particular product. He actually wore it on that mission, and it was a prototype at that point in time. We ultimately delivered a large number of them, I believe, in 2012. And that headset has carried on extremely well. The Bureau uses them. Several state police organizations, most of the rescue squadrons from Air Force Special Operations use that headset as well as several teams from NSW.
So it's funny that you just mentioned that. Paul Bork just sent me a text and said, ask him about the headset in the glass case from the Bin Laden raid in his office right now.
Yeah, that individual, I would consider, even to this day, to be an extremely good friend of mine. He was very patient with myself and my engineering team when we designed that product. I mean, we spent, I'd say we spent close to $1 million and probably spent 3 years before we ultimately delivered it. I don't have to tell you guys, it was a very demanding client.
It's interesting that you say that about him, because one of my really good friends, Chris Irwin, who was at Dam Neck as well.
Yep.
I asked him about this individual a couple years ago, and he looked back at me and he said, he's the best SEAL I've ever known in my entire life.
He is
from Alaska. Yeah,
he's that's correct. From Alaska, very unassuming individual. I'm sure there's maybe times now that he looks back and maybe made decisions that maybe he shouldn't have made. I don't know. I don't discuss that particular topic with him, regardless of what went down a few years ago with regard to books. I could really give a shit.
Yeah.
He ultimately, everything that I've ever heard about him, he was one of the ultimate SEALs. He was certainly chosen to lead that particular mission against the most fucking hated man in America. So I think he did a tremendous job. And
yeah.
I still to this day have the opportunity to speak with him from time to time. And I'm glad to have his friendship.
Yeah, I've never heard anything but good stuff about the guy.
No.
Yeah.
And you're right. I do have. He contacted me. The organization didn't own the headset he was wearing. It was still a prototype at that point in time. I think it says a lot about that product. Even in a prototype stage, he took the risk, if you will, of wearing that product on that particular mission. He had no problems with it whatsoever. Then ultimately, when he got back home, he picked up the phone and called me and said, "I'm sending you a gift." And obviously, it's probably my most cherished thing out of 20 some years in this business. Having that in my office, it says a lot about the company. I think
That's
in terms
awesome.
of its growth.
Let
Yeah,
me ask you this.
absolutely. Sure.
What's it like? I mean, obviously your company is financially very successful and you're doing some cool stuff, but that's got to be a huge bonus to know that the products that you make are actually making a difference on the battlefield. What's that like?
I'm not an operator, JT. I don't come from that background. Obviously, I told you what my background was. I think, honestly, when I got into this business in my early 30s, back in the days, my heroes were still rock stars and sports heroes. And I think by the time I got into my 40s and started working with the people that I work with today, my mindset has changed. I could really give a shit about an athlete at this particular point in time. He gets paid a shitload of money to play a game. These guys are the ultimate heroes. I think they get stomped on a lot today. I think the bullshit that's going on in the NFL is fucking ridiculous. We make it a point that every single employee that we hire in this company, I know for a fact is a patriot. And I don't think they would even want to work here if they weren't. I've got close to 30 employees in this building today, and I would tell you probably every one of them is at least packing a 9mm.
There you go.
So, yeah, I pity the guy that tries to attack the building.
There you go.
He'd be Swiss cheese before he got through the door. But it's an honor for us. It will continue to be an honor for us to have the confidence of these people that they place in us. I think it's hugely important. You know, I know it's a little different in the military, but if you look at it from a law enforcement perspective, the shoot, move, communicate theory, you look at a typical operator, he wears a ballistic helmet, he carries a rifle and a protective vest, and chances are the majority of those guys will never pull a gun and fire it at anybody. They'll just fire it at the range. They won't take a round in a helmet or on a load-bearing vest. But what's the one thing they always have to do, and that is communicate.
Yes.
And so it's key for us to make sure that every product that we provide them works when it needs to work. And if there is an issue with it, you need to have excellent customer service. Pick the product up. We pick them up. We have a policy in the company now. We pick it up at our cost, bring it back in, repair it or replace it within 5 days, and return it to the customer. No questions asked.
That's awesome, man. You and JT also have something else in common. JT is a very accomplished musician, and Paul he's got a set of pipes. He can play about a dozen instruments. Paul just informed me that you are a massive Kiss fan, and you have an insane amount of memorabilia from Kiss in your office.
Well, I wouldn't say it's an insane amount. I probably have an insane amount of shit from the last 40 some years. My wife and I have gone on a cruise with the band the last 6 or 7 years. Every Halloween.
Man, that's cool.
So you're serious about Kiss?
Yeah, we drop a fair amount of coin. I'm on the road 35, 40 weeks a year, so that's about the only vacation that I've gotten over the last year. So I've got a signed guitar in the hanging in the office. We get pictures with the band and all that stuff. I followed them. The first time I saw them live was in Kansas City as a warm-up band for Golden Earring in 1975.
Okay.
Oh man,
wow, that's awesome, man.
That's a long time.
So music's your therapy.
It is.
Okay.
It is. I'm a music whore.
What's the future though from here on out? Like, are you guys? You obviously have your staple products. You're getting hit up, to solve complex problems. In the communities, but what else are you looking at any retail application? I mean, I have something I want to talk to you about now. Like it sounds like you could help me develop a wireless solution for podcasters' headphones because nobody does it.
Oh, please.
So I'm doing a project right now for that same client that we discussed, and I'm delivering them in late September. So that is the next step in our industry, is ultimately cutting cables.
Yeah.
So we're building a wireless, and let me go back here a second. So I've been with 3M/Peltor for about the last 6 or 7 years. So we grew from I don't know, $11,000 or $12,000 the first year in business with them to today we're their largest distributor in North America. And then we're the only company allowed to value add to their products. So we have contracts with, as an example, CBP, all of U.S. Coast Guard, FBI, SOU, NSW, all where we take a Peltor headset and modify it for their specific use. So we actually build a Peltor today. We were awarded a $10 million contract last fall for NSW to take a Peltor headset, tear it apart, rebuild it, and allow it to go 10 meters under the water for 10 hours. And so that was a huge accomplishment. Maritime environment, when you start talking about Peltors, and I don't have to tell you guys, you get a pinhole in a headset and it's going to flood. So that was a very difficult product to go after. Now we're taking a similar product I delivered to NSWDG 2 weeks ago, a maritime version built for the new PRC 163 radio, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, JT.
I have not seen it yet.
So it's super badass.
I keep hearing about it, though.
Yeah, it's 2 radios in one box, basically, and you can plug in an EUD into it as well. So I think that radio is at 10 watts, so you could damn near jumpstart a car battery with it. So
wow.
And it's a submersible radio as well. So we delivered to that client a set of multiple headsets for a maritime application. So the next one we're building, which I'm delivering in October, is that same headset, but we've cut the headset cable between the push-to-talk and the headset, so there is no longer a cable.
That's awesome.
That's where it's going. You've got to deal with security risks, jamming,
Yep.
all the rest of that shit. But we have a partner in it who has taken the technology and patented it worldwide. So I think we've got a good shot at addressing their needs.
That is awesome.
So let me ask you this: what are some of the challenges you've faced with your business, from the time you started it to now? Like, what are some of the biggest? Like, give me 3 mistakes you've made.
One of them would have been voting for Obama.
There you go.
Let's make no mistake. This is the patriot coming out of me. I watched over an 8-year period a president who I strongly believe did everything in his power to try to paint law enforcement in a negative light, and basically put our United States military in mothballs. And what we're seeing from the president today, it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican, in my opinion. You want peace, you're going to gain it through strength. And I think whether you like President Trump or not, he's made the right decisions for the company in terms of trying to keep peace. So, yeah, my first one would have been voting for Obama.
All right, 2 and 3.
Let's see. Probably thinking that at one point in time, the technology that the former founder had invented had a never-ending lifespan. I don't think that's the case any longer. I think there is applications for bone conduction, but I certainly don't believe it's the future. I think the future has to include noise cancellation. You got to protect somebody's hearing, so you've got to have electronic hearing protection. Particularly in the United States military, it's all changed. They were spending $250 million a year on hearing aids for veterans, and they finally got wise and said, maybe we should build headsets that protect the hearing so we could be proactive rather than retroactive. So I think believing that bone conduction was where we were going to make and keep our future probably was a mistake. Fortunately, we didn't hang around too long. We went after other technologies and have been successful. What's my third mistake? God, I've probably made so many of them. Oh yeah, I'll say. So the former founder of the company, JT, you're not old enough to remember this, but I am. So when this company first started, it was called New Eagle, And it was called that because the manufacturer who built the bone conductors was out of New Eagle, Pennsylvania. And when we separated from them in the early 2000s and brought another partner in so we could start doing our own manufacturing, the founder named the company Atlantic Signal. And his concept behind that was to make it sound to those who weren't familiar with the company by using the term Atlantic. Supposedly it was supposed to sound like it was some company that had been around for decades and came over from across the pond, et cetera, et cetera. I never chewed that idea too well. If I would have been in the position at that point in time, I probably would have taken a much more aggressive name for the company. But I've spent too damn many dollars over the last 15 years marketing the name Atlantic Signal.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we all know it. Our community knows it.
Yeah, I'm obviously not gonna change it now, and we are, and everybody knows it, a very, very aggressive marketing company as well.
Cool, man. All right, so thanks for coming on.
Well, how can people find your products? If we got listeners out there that work for these jobs, government agencies, whatever, and they're looking into getting some headsets for their department or anything like that, where can they go?
They can go to AtlanticSignal.com. They can email at support@AtlanticSignal, or they can call in toll-free at 800-850-8512. We've got a free demo program. We send out about 300 demo kits a year or a month. So you can visit with one of our sales reps, either on the military or law enforcement side. They'll help you build up a demo kit, and it'll ship out within 10 days.
Awesome.
That's badass.
Awesome. Well, we can't thank you enough for coming on the show. I look forward to getting some of these goodies that you put together for us and showing them off to all of our friends and listeners.
I'll keep you posted, JT. I told you I met with the guy this morning, so we'll get them painted up nicely and get them sent your direction.
All right.
All right, Randall. Thanks. Have a great day, buddy.
Ladies and
Thanks, guys.
gentlemen,
Be safe.
Launch
Thank
Code.
you.